Welcome to the third video in this three-part series, The Power of Love Languages. Hi, I am Connie Durham, and my business is Connie's Clever Concepts because one concept can change your life, whether it's in business or it's in your personal life. Well, when people speak your love language, it makes you feel important. So let's turn that around. When you speak someone else's love language, it gives you that better connection with them, right? And what's more important than your spouse, right? Everyone has a sign around their neck that says, make me feel important. And sometimes when we get married, we forget about this. Hey, we already put out the hook, caught the fish, reeled them in. Why do we have to be nice now? Yeah, everybody has a sign around their neck that says, make me feel important, even you. It's important to learn the art of listening to your spouse. And maybe they'll do the same for you, right? Sometimes we talk too much and we forget to listen. So when you ask your spouse what's most important to them, which love language is theirs, make sure that you listen. Well, like I said, my name is Connie Durham, and this is a picture of me with my husband, Jeff. We've been married over 35 years. We have 3 grown kids, and I've been very fortunate to have a great relationship with my husband. And up to so many years ago, I didn't even realize that people had trouble. I just thought people got married and everything was great for them. But I have learned that there are challenges, and that's what I teach on in a lot of my classes is what causes those challenges in marriages. Now, a number one reason is communication. Like couples may think they're about to communicate great, but they don't. They literally speak different languages. Women are from Venus, men from Mars, that kind of thing. And so that's what I share because I want to help families stay together, live a happy life, because when things are going well at home, we can handle anything else out in the world, right? If things are great at home. So here's my oldest son, his wife, and his son. Here is my second child, my daughter and her husband. And they have 2 children, and he had 2 children. So that's a blended family. And guess what? My youngest son also has a blended family. And there's a baby missing there. And so his family is a family of 10. She had 4 kids and he had 4 kids, right? And when it gets crazy busy whenever you are with a family of that size, because, hey, kids are demanding, right? It's important to know the love language of your spouse because you don't get a lot of time together, right? Let's talk first about personalities. I want you to think about your personality and your spouse's personality. Personalities often show by people's emotions, the things, the looks on their face. Some people show very little emotion. You cannot ever tell what they're thinking. That could be you, or that could be your spouse, or maybe everything shows on their face. If they're thinking about something, it shows. If they're mad, it shows. If they're emotional, everything shows on their face. So when we think about personalities, let's think about you and your spouse. What do you even think about whenever I say personalities? Because there's personalities that clash and there's people who get along well together. And when you couple these things along with my power up classes like Living for Today, the Sparks That Ignite, and the love languages, it helps you learn how to connect better. And we all want that, right? So I want you to think about your personality and your spouse's. Are you guys adventurous? Are both of you really independent? You do your own thing. You don't need help. You don't need an assistance. You do your own thing. Who is more easygoing between you and your spouse? Are you both easygoing? If you're both easygoing, sometimes you want to go to dinner and neither one wants to say where to go to dinner. And you're thinking, why is that? Are you humble? Are you able to say, I'm sorry? Some personalities don't ever say they're sorry. Are you a cautious person? Do you see everything that can go wrong? Life's a challenge, right? But some people are super cautious, super cautious. They ask a lot of questions. Are you a creative person? Are you flexible and easy to get along with? Are you bold, determined, and intellectual? Somebody who likes to read a lot, learn a lot. Are you a funny person, or is your spouse a funny person? When it comes to the personality styles, all people are different, but literally people that are different sometimes make a really great team. Like they fill in for each other. But let's look at some of the problems that couples do have, because basically, daily we are so busy with time. We have so many things demanding our time, and then stresses are money. So time, money, stress, responsibilities, and these kind of couple into then no time to communicate, or we're tired and we don't want to communicate. Some people don't like to talk after a long day at work. They just need some quiet time. So taking these things, time, money, stress, responsibilities, and that falling into challenges in communicating, you add in the different personalities. Some people are literally opposite. One's messy, one's neat. People have different backgrounds, and they expect their spouse to think the same way as they do. But if they have different backgrounds, they may not be seeing eye to eye, because I do however my parents taught me, and you do however your parents taught you, right? There's different traditions and ambitions and opinions, and all these things weigh on our marriage and give us challenges in our marriage. So today we're going to look at the power of love languages. And this one single thing, if you learn about this with your spouse, this one single thing can help you score some points, right? It helps you score points with your spouse. And when we're happy with one another, we're more loving and kind, and we get along better, right? So identify your love language as we go through these. Identify your spouse's love language, and then think about how you can use this to better your relationship. So the first one is love languages, is words of affirmation. And right here, I've gotten something off the internet, and it just gives all these great words. And I'll say this: my husband always calls me beautiful. So whether I feel beautiful, or my hair's messy in the morning, or he just calls me beautiful all the time. So what does that do for him? Well, that puts that positive thoughts in his mind, because he calls me beautiful, right? And it's, of course, very complimentary. So that would be a word of he's always affirming me that he loves me by calling me beautiful. And so what are some words of affirmation that you could use in your marriage if someone's love language is affirmation? It's important to encourage them, appreciate them, empathize with them, listen attentively. Have you ever talked to somebody, and whenever you're talking to them, they're looking around for something else, they're doing something else, they're picking up their phone? How does that make you feel? Not very important, right? You might send them a love note, put it in their lunch, or put it in the refrigerator, or put it on the bathroom mirror. Praise them in front of others. So words of affirmation for people whose love language is this just builds that connection between you, because those verbal words make them feel important. It makes them feel that you care. And so daily, just saying nice things. Hey, that's an inexpensive gift, isn't it? You do want to avoid criticism. And it's okay to say, something once in a while, but not constantly criticizing. That just cancels out all the words that you have affirmed them with. And be sure and don't talk down to them. The next love language is physical touch. And this is easy, right? It is simply taking that time to be together, holding hands, sitting close together, kisses, hugs. I said holding hands. And the important thing on this is, if you happen to be one of those people who's kind of untouchable. You really don't like anybody sleeping close to you or putting their arm around you. You feel crowded. Then you kind of have to, um, you know, find a way around that and purposely sit close to them or hold hands. What can you tolerate, right? So if a person's love language is physical touch, it's really important to them to just that, have physical touch, sit together, hugs, kisses, holding hands. The third one is receiving gifts. Now, this is the only one that could cost a little bit. If a person's love language is receiving gifts, then they like giving gifts, and the gift that you give matters. And so, on their birthday or anniversary or Christmas, make sure you take time in choosing their gift, because to this person, it's really important. Now, some people love to give gifts, right? But this love language is receiving gifts. So sometimes a little surprise something, like you bring them a milkshake home, or bring them some flowers, or a little piece of jewelry that you ran across. Loving gestures, little things do matter. Express gratitude when receiving gifts. So since this is important, also, you want to kind of make honor of your gift whenever they give you something. Don't forget the special events. And like I said, be sure and have enthusiasm. So sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, so-and-so's birthday is tomorrow and I've got to go get a gift. And we're not very enthusiastic about it. Maybe we're tired. But when you give them that gift, put a smile on your face, take out your 5 or 10 minutes and just focus on them. Be sure and have enthusiasm. The next love language is quality time. And that means you need to make sure that you take time with your spouse if this is their love language. I always say to my husband, and we have a great relationship and I love being with him, right? But I'm like, out of sight, out of mind. So it's pretty important that he takes time and spends time with me, because if he's not around, not saying I'd go find anybody else, but just saying if he's not around, I'm not thinking about him, right? So out of sight, out of mind. And I'm like that with a lot of things, actually. But quality time, if a person's love language is quality time, they need conversations. And we do have a lot of those. We sit and talk sometimes after dinner because our kids are all grown, right? Uninterrupted, one-on-one. It might be important to turn your phone off when you're having time together. You're having dinner out, that phone beeps and you got a message. We didn't used to have those. There wasn't anything that followed us around. So when we left our house, we left our phone at home. And you may not even be old enough to remember that. We left our phone at home. And so when you were engaging with people, there just weren't as many interruptions or other things to do. Take time and eat together. Date nights. Don't go too long in between, and cut the distractions. Now, this next love language is acts of service. Here again, this is not something that costs. It's not going to bust your budget. From the wife's point of view, helping her tidy up or wash clothes, or maybe helping her bring in the groceries, right? Or doing an errand or helping with laundry. I mean, when it comes to keeping the home, there's a lot of different things that go into that. Now, when I think about acts of service for a man, I'm like, now what would that be? Maybe romantic. But acts of service for a man, cooking dinner for him, scratching his back while he's watching TV, right? So acts of service. I'll help with what? Chores, projects, kids, dinner. And whenever you say that you're going to do something, be sure and keep your word. I mean, this is a given for most of us, but sometimes we haven't learned to keep our word. We don't even know how important it is. So learn to keep your word. So we go back to those personality styles. And some personality styles are very expectant. And so it's even more important to remember their love language. Some don't expect very much at all, but personalities really do make a difference. And personalities, let's look at these right here. There is the person who is down to business, the guy in the upper left-hand corner, down to business. And they may come home from work and they're still working, still looking at emails, still answering phone calls. And, sometimes that interferes with that at-home time and comes between couples. So we have to remember how to cut it off. Some people are fun-loving. I mean, they're just looking for a party all the time. Some personality styles are constantly thinking and analyzing, what could go wrong, or, they're just always thinking. And some personalities, they are the supporter. They are just simply a supporter. So which personality would you be? Would you be that down to business person, that fun-loving person, or that person you're always analyzing and thinking about everything? Or that person who is just simply a supporter? They're always there for other people. Uh-oh, I'm not sure how I did that. There we go. Okay, so who you are, whatever your personality style is, it determines how you see others. Have you ever sent a text to somebody and said something and they took it totally different? That's because whoever you are determines how you see others. So sometimes we could read something. It's like when you text, there's no inflection on that. There is just black and white. So whenever you're talking to others, do you expect the best, or do you see all the things that can go wrong? How could how you and your spouse communicate be coming between you? Here we go. Personality styles again. All right. I have a class that is called Communication Secrets for Couples. Some years ago, I came across this. It's a scientific formula for how people communicate, how they make decisions, how they see others, whether they are fast-paced or people or details. And it is called Communication Secrets for Couples. And who wants to live happily ever after? If you're having some challenges in any of these areas, you should at least click on this and look at it. Let me tell you what it is. First of all, it helps you gain insight on how your emotions affect your relationship daily. Some people are really emotional. They have their ups and they have their downs. Some people get angry really easy, and anything can tip them off. And so your emotions day in and day out, do they make your spouse feel important and good and loved? Or could the emotions between you and your spouse be kind of like, pulling you apart? Is it bringing you together or pulling you apart? In this class, you can improve your communication by learning to read nonverbal cues. Everybody has some kind of nonverbal cues. What if you could kind of tell the mood of somebody by these nonverbal cues? In the class, you learn to embrace one another's differences. So often we focus on what frustrates us. We focus on how we're different, and we feel pulled apart by that. But if you can learn, number one, to have gratitude and focus on the things that your spouse does well. Think about it even now. What do you appreciate that your spouse does? What do you appreciate about them? Sometimes our frustration begins to cloud how we see our spouse. And if you can learn to embrace each other's differences, you can make a great team. You can work better together if you start to understand your differences and you learn how to bring those together. You can understand why you shouldn't take conflict personally. Now, my husband and I don't have a lot of conflict. We have a little bit, really very little. It is our personality styles. But some personality styles literally butt heads all the time. And then there's personality styles where one person is so dominant that they talk down to the other person, they kind of slam the other person, and they've just forgotten that they married that person because they love them. So sometimes conflict is not about you. It's about how that person is feeling at the time. And it's about their top emotions and how they handle stress and many other things. Also in a class, find out when it's best to talk and when it's best to listen. Are you a talker or are you a listener? And you can establish those do's and those don'ts with your spouse. Now, some of us are really easygoing, and there's not a lot of do's and don'ts, but some people, if you can learn how to not push their buttons, there can be a lot more peace in your house. And you can couple those two things of learning not to take conflict personally and learn what not to do with them and what to do with them. For instance, in one of the styles, if you tell them what to do, I mean, they're just not going to do it. It's going to cause a fight and it's going to cause frustration. And so you learn to ask and request instead of telling them what to do. And let's face it, we're not children, right? We don't like to be told what to do. We want to, come together and discuss what we want to do together. You can have a more successful, emotionally healthy relationship when you go through this class. There's people who've been married for 25 years and they were like, oh my gosh, if I only knew this earlier. But it is something, now that you've come across it, that you have to decide if you want to do it. How much is it worth to you to do it? All right, so first of all, let me tell you what you get. You get an online communication styles assessment. This is a 45-page premium advanced assessment that is going to tell you all kinds of things. In fact, in the future, I'll probably be doing some extra classes off of this assessment because there's so very much in it. But it shares with you your personality styles, your likes, your dislikes, your strengths, your blind spots, things that hold you back in life. And you could literally take this class by yourself, and you're going to learn about yourself and you're going to learn about your spouse. So when you do your communication style assessment, you're going to learn all about you. It's like a light bulb coming on. The first thing you get is a video on motivators. Now, my second part on this is a live class. It's a communication secrets webinar. It's an hour and a half. It's a 90-minute webinar. And I do those once a month. But the motivators video you get right away. And so you start looking at the motivators. The communication class is all about that assessment that you took. I teach you how to read that. I teach you what the communication styles are and help you recognize your differences, the things you have alike, and all these things up in the right-hand corner that we just talked about. The third thing you get is an advanced workshop video after you have completed the motivators video and the 90-minute webinar. Because let's face it, you don't learn anything instantly. It takes a little time. And whenever you're introduced to a brand new concept, it takes a little while to kind of start to apply it and think about it. And so I start you out with that motivators video. This is what motivates you in life. You'll be very surprised. And then you get the 90-minute communication secrets webinar. And then after that, you get the advanced workshop video. And that's going to combine the motivators and the communication styles. Because when you put those two things together, it makes people act this way or that. It makes a big difference when you put the two things together. And there are things online that talk about the communication styles, but they don't put together those motivators. And I'm not going to go into all that now, but it's an awesome, awesome premium assessment and class. All right, so you got your advanced workshop. Next is a follow-up workshop with Q&A. So monthly I do a Q&A and a workshop giving more tips. It's kind of like a master class or a mastermind where people come in, I give a lesson, and then you can ask questions. So let's think about this. Over this time where you started out with the motivators, then you learn the communication styles, then you learn to put those together in the number 3 advanced workshop video. Then you take all you've learned, and it's like 3.5 weeks after all of this, you take all that you've learned and you watch this workshop and you can ask questions. And so it's a process. So let's think about coaching. If you hire someone to coach, what is that? 150 to 250, to privately coach you. And what is it worth to really learn about the communication styles where you could have more peace in your household? Well, it's literally a value of $1,200, $1,200. But honestly, it's priceless because you learn these things today and you use them tomorrow. You also use these same concepts at work and with your kids. It is an amazing thing that many people have not even ever heard of. Big businesses like Chick-fil-A and Delta, Delta Airlines, they use these things for their employees, and so that they can give great customer service by understanding people. The best part is I'm going to give you your second person free. And I haven't even told you how much it is yet, have I? All right, so you can go to conniescleverconcepts.com/CSC-webinar. And the first 2 people to register today get a free discovery hour with me. And that means after you've done your assessments, I'll actually talk to you together or by yourself, whichever one works for you, and help you understand how some of the challenges maybe that you would personally have because of personality styles, and things you might have in common. So the first 2 that register get that free discovery hour. I have so many spaces for that. And so if you register with that, then I'll give that to you. And right here, I have the code for that, March Bliss 22. If you're watching this later, I will put the current discount code for the month on the top of my webpage, conniescleverconcepts.com. You can always find a current code if you're watching this later. And how much is that? For all of that, it is $384. It is only $384. It's a $1,200 value, and it's $384, and you get the second person free. The actual assessment that comes with this is a premium assessment that you find not anywhere else. It's a premium assessment that shows your motivators, what motivates you in life, and your personality styles. So for as little as $384, you get 2 people. And that might mean you go first, and then your spouse follows, or it might mean you do it together. But just even one person understanding this, these concepts makes a difference. So it's $384, or if you need to, you can do 2 payments of $204. And right there's the address. And then go over what you get again. So remember, in the communication secrets class, you gain insight on how your emotions affect your relationship. Improve your communication by learning to read nonverbal cues. Learn to embrace your differences, because it makes you a good team. One person's great with money, and one person's great with the kids. One person's, great with all the details in the house. Embrace your differences. Understand why you shouldn't take conflict personally, and find out when it's best to talk and when it's best to listen. Establish the do's and don'ts with your spouse. Have a more successful, emotionally healthy relationship. I like the saying, happy couples equal happier kids. And I don't know if you have kids or not, but happy couples equal happier kids. I know you had parents, so you can look back and think, what did your family look like? Was it an easygoing, happy family? Was there a lot of conflict? Was it great? How did you like it? Chances are that if your family was happy and laughing and supportive of one another, it was great. But if they weren't, and there was a lot of strife, it was challenging. And you probably carry some of those problems that you had with that with you today. Communication is a language that can be learned. And I have to tell you, I started on it in 2004, and I love it. It helps me understand sometimes when people are having some problems and giving me a problem. It helps me look at the fact that they probably have something bothering them instead of that they mean to lash out at me, right? All right, so you get the online communication styles assessment. It's around 45 pages. You get the motivators video, the live communication secrets webinar. It's an hour and a half. You get the advanced workshop video, and then you get the follow-up workshop with Q&A. That is also, the live things are also recorded, so you can get replays if you don't want to actually be there live or can't be there live. You do get them, you do get the replays. And so all of that is over a month's period, a period of time, 1 month, during 1 month, and it gives you that chance to learn. Then you also have the option later to continue on those once a month workshops if you want to. $1,200 value, and you get your second person free. I already told you it was $384. I really should have it on this sheet right here, shouldn't I? All right, so go to Connie's Clever Concepts, CSC-webinar, and type in March Bliss 22 to get that discount. $384, and you get your second person free. They get everything that you got in the first one, along with your $384 fee. And then the second payment, you can make 2 payments if you like, of $204, if that is easier for you. I promise it will change your outlook. It will change your life. I mean, it'll change today and it'll change tomorrow. And I mean, I did know someone who had ended up in divorce, and they'd been divorced for quite a few years. And they heard me teach on this, and they suddenly realized why they ended up divorced. And they were a good person. They were a nice person. But sometimes we act differently at home than we do out in public. We allow our emotions and our stress to take hold sometimes at home. And so I encourage you to do this. $384, get the second person free. It won't always be this price. So if you're interested, go ahead and sign up. Thanks for watching.